There we go. Okay. Hello again to another GeoGeeks at home. I'm Glenn, and it's evening, as you can tell. A little dark behind me here, and I'm hanging out here with Adam Simmons. Adam, I sent out a tweet, wanted to know if anyone wanted to connect, and it's evening. Enjoy a beer and have a chat. And you got a cool one, good. So Adam hit me up. Adam, you are Project Geospatial on Twitter, right? Or at Project Geospatial?
Well, at Project Geomedia. Unfortunately, the Project Geospatial tag was taken. I don't know by who. I know they're not using it, but I had to use something else.
Oh, don't you hate it when that happens?
Oh, I know, right?
Yep. Funny story about that. I remember you just made me think of years ago when Twitter was, I don't know, still kind of young. I spent a day or whatever. I was looking around for really short Twitter at handles around, and I saw that PCI wasn't grabbed, so I grabbed it, right? And I hung on to it for a couple of years. I think then I eventually hit someone up at PCI, and I gave it to them. Me being the nice guy that I was.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a good one. Short too.
Oh yeah, it was short. So so to continue with the hanging out at home, Adam, we don't know each other real well, but we've crossed paths online a number of times over the years.
Yeah, no, and I think at some point I've always wanted to hit you up, participate in the GeoGeeks and cars at some point or another. I was hoping to run into you at some conference down the road.
Right.
But yeah, crossing paths, overlap, we just never run into each other. So
yeah, I wish. I don't get out to as many events as I used to. Probably, I think a lot of us don't anymore. The whole event scene, regardless of what's happening right now, I think the whole event space is really in a bit of flux. People don't go to as many. I used to go to, heck, I don't know, at least a dozen a year. But that's kind of fizzled a little bit, unfortunately, because I do miss all that, the face-to-face time.
Well, now look where we are now, right?
Yeah, so now we're sort of face-to-face. And so let's talk a bit. I mentioned Project Geospatial. Tell us about Project Geospatial for anyone who's listening, your podcast.
Yeah, sure. So Project Geospatial is a webcast and podcast, however you want to call it, and even website initiative where the goal is, the focus is to share best practices, industry resources, educational resources, geospatial news. We can get into all of that, but that's the primary goal of Project Geospatial, just to promote advocacy for the geospatial industry. That started about 8 to 9 years ago. We had a presence on Google Plus once upon a time. That's how we got our roots. And then when that community got torn down, we almost had to start all over about a year or two ago. And that's been a little bit rough. It has literally been a hobby. Occasionally it's been all about either with bringing a guest speaker on, just like you do with individuals, or just me and a couple colleagues like Mason Rothman or my wife now, Adam Simmons, just having a conversation about whatever topic. Could be disease maps, could be natural disaster data sets, something like that, and just having a good 20 or 30-minute discussion about the topic, where we're finding data sources, our favorite map of the week, that type of thing. And then it just evolved and taken off. Now I manage this massive website that has a lot of resources, over 150 videos on YouTube, and over a couple hundred hours of content. And it's exploded, even on the podcasting on the audio side. So I'm thrilled to see that, but my hobby is quickly becoming less of a hobby and more work. So
good.
That's what that is. We can branch out into anything else, talk a little bit more about that, whichever way the conversation goes.
Yeah.
I'm not used to being on the receiving end, by the way.
Yeah, I bet. So let me ask you, do you have another day job? Because I do
Yes.
know that trying to monetize this stuff online nowadays is not as simple as one might think it is. So, uh,
Yes. So for I think it's my 2-year anniversary now of having started Midgard Raven. It's a independent consulting company. It's just me right now, but I am a called geospatial consultant. And right now, that fits a lot of different roles. I've had a couple
mhm.
small contracts working on. It could be just finding imagery resources for individuals. My main contract is helping a machine learning company out understand either labeling data or helping with user engagement between government customers. You have a lot of machine learning and developers and software developers and data scientists who understand how to dive into the science of things and create these awesome tools, but they don't understand the workflow of the analyst, and not just an imagery analyst, but intelligence analyst as a whole. And so I move in and either can engage with the analysts and talk the talk with them, be a good translator or liaison to understand the requirements that might come in through, but also be a good filter because I think a lot of companies sometimes get lost into wanting user feedback so much that the application ends up revolving around the users when it was supposed to originally either augment or replace the users completely, and then somehow it comes full circle with becoming a tool of the analyst, and that wasn't the original mission objective. And so I become a filter and say, okay, these analysts have good feedback to evolve this tool, but let's filter out some of these other ones because this would be helping this one individual out. It wouldn't be helping the entire community, that type of thing. Also just surfing there's the called the technology industry and keeping apprised of what's out there so I can help either government customers or industry professionals understand what they can do and what else is available out there from a resource point of view. My experience also is heavy into commercial imagery. I was with GOI before they got acquired by Digital Globe. Was with
Mhm.
Digital Globe for a little while once we
Okay.
got acquired, and also I was with a company called Black Sky for a little while too. So, um, uh, and I was their commercial imagery liaison to not just the government but also ordering imagery and dealing with press and media for some of their problems for acquiring imagery as well.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds to me like the GeoInt and Intel space is pretty important to you and your business. And you mentioned the GeoInt event when we were chatting earlier.
Yes, yeah. So it's funny. I never been to a GeoInt symposium until I believe it was 2010 was my first one at. I want to say this is New Orleans, the last one they ever held at New
Okay,
Orleans.
I might have been at
Uh,
that one. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
and
bit of a
that
blur.
was a
New
blast.
Orleans is
That was a
yeah.
party.
Oh
Now I was
yeah.
still in the Air Force at that point, and that was an interesting time. I'd never been to a trade show or conference then. I was a staff sergeant in the Air Force, and I got to go because I was also liaisoning to the National Constance Office, working just kind of crossing technologies between the Air Force and the NRO. Um, so I go out there to the GeoInt Symposium to man a booth, but I got a lot exploring done on the exhibit floor, and it just opened my eyes to a point where now what I say to people about something like the GeoInt Symposium or some of the bigger other conferences too is, look, if you do anything, go to the GeoInt Symposium because I almost call it the mecca of our industry. Go to at least
Yeah.
once in your lifetime.
Yep.
This is what I tell military individuals anyway. It's like your pilgrimage. Go there once in your lifetime. You'll truly understand how big and diverse and how many things you can do in this industry. Because when you're just getting into, let's say, the military as an imagery analyst or an intelligence analyst, they don't tell you what's out there. They don't tell you what you can do with this work, what you can do with that training. All you see is what you do at that unit, that squadron, and your aperture to what the world is very, very small. It's like a soda straw. And when I went to that conference, my eyes just Wow. It's like walking out the cave of what's that philosopher? Plato's oligarchy. So that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah, I hear you. I think I felt the same way when I first went. I can't even remember my first geo int, but it blew my mind. I was like, wow, like the caliber of speakers that are there. And I mean, you can get up and close a few years ago, and I mean, that's General Clapper right there. You know, he's talking on stage, and then he's walking around, and you can speak to him. I mean, it's like crazy stuff like that. Not to mention I mean, it's all that's that's not a flip flops and shorts kind of event. You want to wear your
Oh
nice
no, you
clothing
definitely
and
dress up. It's a good
yeah.
excuse to get formal.
Yeah, dress up because there's a
And
lot of uniforms and there's a lot of suits and that running around. But still, I mean, there's a lot of smart people there. But I mean, it's not intimidating though. I found like it's very welcoming, and I think in particular for like young people, like if you're a GIS student, nearing exiting university, and you want to get into the geo in space, you have got to be at this conference. They'll give students a free pass
oh
there,
yeah,
and
golden ticket program has
yep,
been amazing.
yep, and
And
volunteer and
yeah,
be part of the youth movement there. And it's amazing. You'll probably leave that show as a young person with a job offer or a really good job lead, if you've got your stuff together. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, and it's the same thing when I tell folks coming out of the military. You have to, even while you're in, even if you have to take a little leave for a couple of days, try to go to it once. It's well worth it,
Mhm.
especially a year right before you get out of the military. Just as a feeling out what the commercial world's going to be like. I'd highly recommend it. And
Yep.
they don't get enough people on that level there. It's usually just company CEOs and VIPs. Aside from the young people in the college, they do try to bring in and expose more newer, younger members. But just not as many as I think there should be there.
Yep. Definitely. So there you have it. If you take anything away from this podcast or
Mm.
webcast, whatever it is, go to GeoInt sometime if you can. It's
Yeah, if you can. I was bummed
yeah.
out the one that next month's is canceled now. So
Yeah, it's I guess we all knew it would happen, but boy, they hung out. They hung in there for a while, and they've had some obstacles. I forget, it was a couple years ago. Didn't they ran into something? I think it was one of the natural disasters that happened.
no, it was
Um,
sequestration. 2013
oh, is that
sequestration happened,
God? Was it
and they
that
call
long
it
ago?
2013 asterisk, and it happened in 2014.
Right.
So uh, that was hilarious because that I actually preferred the Geo Symposium when it was in the fall time period. It was much better for places like Florida and the hotter environments. And then it
Yeah.
moved to the springtime, and man, it was roasting everywhere we went. And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
as unfortunate as everything is going on right now, I'm wondering if this will push the Geo Symposium back onto its original fall time period, which would be really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Back in the fall. Let's go to Florida or yeah, Florida or New
Yeah,
Orleans again. And man, one thing,
it's
if
going
you
to be
go
in
to
Tampa
that,
this year.
Tampa, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it
Um,
was going to be in Tampa.
oh, okay, that was it. Not my favorite conference town, but
Orlando, I always love going to Orlando.
yeah,
That was great.
yeah. Orlando's good. Just not in August, please. Yeah,
No, at least the whole thing is isolated indoors at the Gaylord uh,
yeah,
hotel there.
yeah.
The only bad part is all the out the excursions. They'll send you Epcot and Disney World and things like that, and that's kind of rough.
Yep. Venture out. But I was going to say that. So the exhibition there, when the speakers are always great. The exhibition hall is always fantastic at that. I mean, you work hard at that during the day. It's a long day in that, but man, those guys party hard too. Those GeoInc
Oh,
guys, like,
oh yeah,
holy cow. Yeah.
that's why
You're,
they don't
you're
do
going
the
to
Geo
drop a
walks
couple of
anymore.
the Geo walk. Yeah. You have a couple of Red Bulls at 5, 6 o'clock to wake you up.
No, I can't do that. I definitely set myself a curfew at one of those these days. You know, I have a few parties I'll go to, but it hits a certain time. I'm like, I'm not doing it because you guys are partying a lot more than I can ever do it.
Yeah.
New Orleans was my last joint that I'd ever do that at. I still remember the I can't remember what they're called. They're called the grenade shots they used to do. I'll never do them. They're like little
Never again.
grenade tequilas or something like that.
Oh God. Yeah.
But anyway, G1's great for a lot of different reasons. Like you just said, a lot of the people, but the exhibit hall, I will spend a whole day just walking around, scouting out the companies there, what types of products they do before the day before I start planning out the interviews. You know, a lot of folks like the other media organizations might try to plan interviews ahead of time. I like interviewing folks on the spot, doing a live interview, doing the demos. And a lot of those other media organizations look for, you know, they'll do your standard press releases, what you hear in the news normally. And the companies are prepared for that. What I care about is your golden nuggets. What new startups are in the geospatial industry are evolving the technology to a new level. A couple of years ago, we had some really interesting object detection companies that came out the door, probably 4 or 5 years ago now. Even especially with companies like Hawkeye 360 when that first came out, that was a really interesting company. But I look for those types of nuggets. I like interviewing those individuals who can help evolve the actual either user workflow, mission workflow, or take analysis or imagery to the next level. I'm not looking for a called a cookie cutter situation where, okay, you got an exploitation application, it's just your flavor of the day. Okay, I'm going to walk right past you, so to speak.
Right.
At least at the conference. I'll happily do a review of your product if you ask, but for me, that's not entirely news. So.
Yeah, I hear you. So, wow, this is going on. You know, we've been chatting about over 20 minutes now. So
is that a long time for you?
You know what? I had no idea how to, you know, like, I was thinking about that. How long do I want these things to be? I like to keep them raw, so I don't do a lot. I'm not going to like chop this thing up and only, you know, release 5 minutes of it. You know, if it's going good, we roll with it. I think half an hour is about the maximum of someone's time that you could try to demand online, just because, I mean, we all got so many things we want to watch and listen to, right? So, you know, this will be a podcast and some of the services, so people will have 20 minutes of listening time.
It's an audio. Don't limit yourself on time if the guests allow it. That's my advice to you,
right?
because
Okay.
folks love, as long as they'll keep the episode on, they'll just keep it rolling. Because the last thing you want to do when someone's driving is try to fumble around looking for the next show.
Yep, sure.
Like
And you know what? And you know, these things aren't scripted. You know, we had a conversation beforehand, but we did not plot out exactly everything we were going to talk about. And if you get on a roll and you're talking about something interesting, why, if I have a guest here, why would I want to cut them off and say, you know what, it's time, see you? It's crazy.
Well, not to go on the side topic here, but I would say that I've had a good mixture of both. I love the folks who can get into a good conversation and we can just talk, and then the conversation carries itself. The hardest folks I've had to interview are the ones where I've sometimes had to poke and prod. I ask a question, I get a 2-sentence answer back, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be rough. So, and they're excited to be on. They just give the quickest answers, and it's not a conversation at that point. So.
Right. So, okay, what are we going to do? Talk about baseball, or how do we get this going?
Well, that interview ended in about 3 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of baseball, I just auto-renewed my MLB at-bat app. I got my email, so I'm great. I don't know what kind of benefit I'm going to get out of that this year, but
congratulations.
Yeah.
Good luck if there's a game on.
Yeah, but I'm actually enjoying. Yeah, that's the funny thing about baseball. So during this whole, you know, situation, we can kind of pivot to the COVID-19 topic, and but here, you know, I'm a baseball junkie. Springtime baseball is it for me. But now we're getting all the classic stuff. I mean, I don't care if I'm watching a baseball game from 10 years ago or that's happening live. It's all good to me. So I can deal with that.
You get the archive feed through the MLB app too.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff, and and all the networks are playing. They're starved for content now, so they're replaying kind of all the popular games.
Nice.
Yeah. So you know what? Before we when I hit the recording thing, I did not mention to people like where we are and that. So a little geographic
Oh,
context. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, right? So I'm on the left coast, Pacific time zone, and it is geez, it's 10 to 9, and I'm drinking a nice chromatic IPA here from my local brewery, Category 12. And Adam, where are you sitting right now?
I'm in Ashburn, Virginia, so right around the corner from Washington Dulles International Airport, right next to Washington D.C.
Okay. And
And
you're up
so
north.
I am drinking a nice Life water here, not to advertise branding or anything. Um, reason why I'm doing a water because it is close to midnight for me, and if I have a beer, especially the ones I have downstairs from Old Ox Brewery just down the street, I don't sleep as well anymore if I just have alcohol right before bed. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Good. All right. So I figure we should call it a night. We'll
oh,
can this,
okay.
and I want to thank you for being guest number 2 on GeoGeeks at Home. Uh,
Happy to be on, Glenn.
yeah. Oh, one thing I didn't. Okay, one last thing though. So working from home, what's the situation in your town? Are you self quarantined or anything, or what? What's
Well,
going
I
on?
mean, I guess everybody's kind of self quarantined right now. No
Hmm.
one's going out unless they have to. I'll admit this kind of thing is still a little bit surreal for me. I work from home about half the time, three-quarters of the time anyway. So,
Yeah.
but now when I attempt to go out and I realize I can't go to a restaurant anymore, I can't necessarily have to think twice before what I'm getting at the grocery store because not everything is going to be available. Or I don't, some actually when this first thing kicked off about 2 weeks ago. Um, I hesitated to go to the grocery store because the lines were so long. It was nuts. But gas all time low. I was shocked. We're almost actually in some gas stations we're below $2 again. That's
Wow.
unheard of. No one's even talking about that. uh,
Yeah. Well, me
that's
as a Canadian, I appreciate it because our gas is insane. You don't want to know how expensive gas is up here, but
oh,
so
I used to live in California, so it
yeah.
used to
Oh,
be
yeah.
pretty bad there too.
Yeah. So we appreciate the
Uh,
break.
but it's interesting because we are having increases of cases locally in the area, and it just making me wonder constantly how is this thing spreading? Just because you have another case. I'm like, people aren't thinking about are they thinking about sanitizing those individuals' houses or what they touch in terms of deliveries or mail. When the second I hear about a new case, I'm like, what are they actually doing to mitigate this besides self quarantine that individual or making sure they're okay, from the house all the way down.
Hmm.
This is the worst thing that's happened from a disease standpoint in over 100 years. And back then, the procedures for getting rid of disease were a lot less humanitarian. You'd burn everything. So,
Right. Yeah.
and we don't do that. We're a lot more sensible and try to take care of each other. What are we doing to try and sanitize those infected? And I'm obviously being a maps kind of guy. I've been keeping track of all the maps out there. Who's got the best ones? And what's fascinating about the U.S. is I think, despite the situation, and this is personal opinion here, I think it seems like we're testing a lot more and deriving not the locations of what's happening on a county level. So if you look at all the maps out there, the U.S. almost seems like it's having a lot more cases just because of the way the maps visualized and the way it's pointed at the individual counties. But if you
Right.
look at other places around the world, I don't actually see so many. I don't see that many points derived below the country level. So you get the
Yeah.
one singular dots on each
Yeah.
country
A
with
big, huge dot on
yeah. I'm
China
like,
or
okay,
Italy. Yeah.
relative to the U.S. point of view on the map, I can see why people are thinking like we're skyrocketing for no reason, even though there's a couple countries still have a
Hmm.
high. I mean, yeah, we're pretty bad right now from exposure list, but visualization's everything. It tells a story, and
Yep.
it could be inflated by how detailed the data is in one country compared to another. And that's one of the biggest things I've noticed. I'm like, okay, you guys you're not reporting down to the province or the city. You're showing the country level. What's going on with that? Why are we the only ones showing down all the way down to the county?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I know my non-GeoGeek friends appreciate input that I provide, in times like this, because some of the maps that are out there, that especially from the mainstream media, I mean, they're crap, and they start seeing county level information, or some of the kudos to Esri for pushing out all the the dashboard templates that all
yep.
the states can use, and that's, people relate to that, and yeah, so when I share those out and they're like, wow, okay, this is great, thanks, and I didn't even know that existed. So
No, I am impressed with the maps that have come out there, but I also want to see it go to the next level too. Now it's like
mhm.
we have a world of maps for this virus now in terms of where it is and where it's spreading. Now, though, when you think about what the situation you are in now, as a maybe somebody who needs supplies or curious about the world outside your house, let me ask you, I mean, what kind of map are you interested in right now? And I have some answers on the side if you can speak up on that.
Hmm.
What do you think? That's
What am I interested in, you mean?
yeah, no. What kind of map would you want out of this? We'll call it this current crisis right now. You have all the maps in the
Yeah,
world.
yeah.
What would be taking it to the next level?
Well, I think the any of the visualizations that I've seen that really emphasize like the rapid spread, so time series analysis, and when you see the you see the disease spread, and how the contagion is just it's an exponential growth. That kind
Yeah.
of thing really sinks in and gets people thinking, because we're seeing it everywhere. People just aren't listening, and
No, that's
going to
important.
parties, and it's like, hey, you know what, you're not just potentially exposing a couple of people, it's like this, man, stay home.
No, no, that's great. No, you want to know how it's spreading, where it's going, but what I was more thinking, Glenn, is
Yeah.
the is as somebody at home who, let's say, in another couple weeks, I might have to go back out and get a significant number of supplies again. And
Mm.
I'm thinking, you know what? Where can I go? Where are the grocery stores actually open? Where are the ones? What are their hours right now? Because all those hours aren't adjusted for Google Maps right now. This is a crisis mode. Where what restaurants out there do deliveries, which ones doing drive through only? I don't have that information. Even
Right.
Amazon,
True.
what areas of the country are they actually performing deliveries where I don't have to wait 2 weeks to get my goods?
Hmm. And
uh,
which ones are doing a good job at it? Because I tell you what, a lot of
yeah.
restaurants are doing delivery and stuff. A lot of them, though, are not doing a good job at protecting themselves or their customers as well. I'll
So
tell
so I would argue the current apps designed to either review or identify where these locations are, they're not set up for a dynamic change to update these locations or allow those facilities to update them outside normal or traditional business hours. I mean, if you actually go in and try and edit your Google Maps, it'll take you a few days. You got to still get it approved, and
yeah,
it's it's
yeah.
it's not an easy process like it used to be with when they had Google Map Maker, right?
Hmm.
And what do you use to inform people en masse of where the facilities are? And surprisingly, I was thinking about this, and actually, our local county came out with where the grocery store or where the hot spots to get food are right now. And I today they just released a map like that. And I was thinking, I was like, this is great. Why isn't there something on the national level that shows that type of thing? That would be great. And
Right.
that's me thinking on
Show
the
me
next
the.
level. I'm like, I
I
know
want
where
to
the
know the
disease is.
markets that have toilet paper are, right. But
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
but would you create hysteria all of a sudden? Like, oh my God, the Safeway up the road from me
Well,
has toilet
well,
paper.
if you think about this, why wasn't something like that created before? Right, right. Let's say you go to a Home Depot or you go to the Home Depot online. You can easily, or a Best Buy, you can easily type in a zip code and figure out if that product is at that current store. However,
Yeah.
from a geospatial point of view, that didn't exist. I want to know, I want to know, I want to see a map of which stores have this product. If I type in the product itself, and then I want the reverse. I
Hmm.
want to see a map. I want to type in the product, then show me what locations have this store and which ones are open right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You
That's
know what?
that's
All
that's the reverse.
the technology's all there. I can remember, and we've been talking about it for years and years, but no one's doing it. I mean, as far as like RFID and virtual shopping, but the real-time inventory tracking is still really lagging, even though
Yeah.
technology's been there for a long time. I
But you would
why can't I know how many packages of toilet paper are at the market up the road right now?
But this isn't the first crisis either. You would think
No.
this kind of thing would help in a hurricane situation, right?
Yeah.
You were trying to rebuild a house. Where do they got
Yeah.
supplies locally where I can rebuild? Which places haven't been torn down so I can go and feed my
Mhm.
family?
Yeah.
That type
It's
of thing.
just it's work, and it's just hasn't been a priority to
Yeah.
them. So
Anyway,
just
that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I love seeing
mm,
all these disease maps, and it's I think people are doing a great job with the data. I just I can't wait to see what comes out next to take it
yeah.
to the next level.
Yep. Well, this whole situation now is going to spark a lot of innovation, and it may change the way that a lot of us live and work and play. So I have no doubt about that. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Indeed,
Yeah.
and hopefully everybody stays safe
Mhm.
out there while they do it too.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, you know what? That's a good segue. And another segue is I can smell my chili. I'm having a late dinner, and my pot of chili needs a stir. So I
No
should
problem. Now I'm keeping you up. That's all good.
oh, it's only 9 o'clock. I'm a night owl nowadays. So,
Oh, same here.
yep, good. All right. Well,
All right.
Adam, I appreciate it. Thanks for hitting me up, and I'll let you know when this is live and or what I'm going to do with it. I'm gonna turn this off, and I'll say goodbye to you offline. All right, and our viewers, thanks for joining myself and Adam Simmons. Appreciate it. Thanks, Adam.
Later, all.